If you are watching this right now, stop for a moment, because this is not a coincidence. Out of millions of videos online, you found this one tonight. That means something. You are special. God has led you to this message for a reason. Tonight is not just another night. You may not fully understand why you felt drawn to this video, but heaven knows. God knows the prayers you whispered, the battles you fought silently, and the moments when you almost lost hope. And today, this message carries a powerful reminder. The 13th of March 2026 may be the night heaven shifts everything for you. Even when it seemed like nothing was moving, God was working behind the scenes, aligning the right moments, preparing the right doors, positioning the right opportunities. A good shift is coming into your life. The same situation that once looked impossible can suddenly change. The same chapter that felt heavy can turn into a testimony. Your life is about to move in a new direction that reminds you that God's timing is never late. Before we go any further, take a step of faith right now. Like this video, subscribe to this channel and help us reach 10,000 subscribers so this message of hope can reach someone else who needs encouragement tonight. And in the comments, type 99 as a declaration that you believe heaven is shifting things in your favor. Stay with me, because tonight might be the moment when everything begins to change. There are moments in life that appear completely ordinary, yet in the spiritual realm something extraordinary is taking place. Tonight may feel like just another night on the calendar, another quiet moment after a long day. But what you may not realize is that heaven has already marked this night for something special. God often chooses specific moments to shift the direction of a person's life, and those moments rarely announce themselves in advance. They come quietly, suddenly, and powerfully. For someone listening to this message, this could be the very night when everything begins to change. You may have been walking through a season where nothing seemed to move. You prayed, but the answer didn't come when you expected it. You believed, but the situation stayed the same. There were days when you wondered if God had forgotten about you. You saw others receiving their breakthroughs while you were still waiting, still hoping, still holding on. But just because you cannot see movement does not mean God is not working. Behind the scenes, God has been arranging things in ways you could never imagine. God is a master at timing. He knows the exact moment when everything needs to come together. He knows when the right door must open, when the right person must appear, and when the right opportunity must arrive. Sometimes we think nothing is happening, but heaven is actually preparing something far greater than we expected. What feels like silence on earth is often preparation in heaven. All throughout history, God has shown that He can change a person's story in a single moment. One day someone can be struggling, discouraged, and unsure of the future, and the very next moment everything shifts. God can turn a setback into a setup. He can turn disappointment into divine direction. He can take the very thing that looked like the end and turn it into a brand new beginning. You may feel like your life has been stuck in the same place for too long. Maybe you have faced rejection, closed doors, financial pressure, or emotional battles that seem to drain your strength. But what you need to understand is that God has not been ignoring your prayers. Every prayer you whispered in the quiet moments, every tear that fell when no one was watching, every time you chose to believe even when things looked impossible, God saw it all. The truth is that breakthrough moments often come after seasons of endurance. God allows us to walk through certain valleys not to defeat us, but to prepare us. Those seasons build faith, strengthen character, and deepen our trust in Him. And when the right moment arrives, everything begins to move in ways we never expected. Tonight could be one of those moments. This could be the night when God begins to turn things around for you. The night when doors start opening that once seemed permanently closed. The night when peace replaces anxiety, when hope rises again in your heart, and when new opportunities begin to appear. God is not limited by time, by people, or by circumstances. When He decides it is time for your turning point, nothing can stand in His way. What took years of struggle can be transformed in a single moment of divine favor. So instead of looking at tonight as just another ordinary night, begin to see it through the eyes of faith. Believe that God is still writing your story. Believe that your best days are not behind you, but ahead of you. Believe that the same God who brought you this far is preparing to take you into something greater. Because sometimes all it takes is one night for heaven to shift everything. There are moments in life when we come face to face with situations that seem completely beyond our control. We try to fix them with our effort, our wisdom, and our determination, but no matter how hard we try, the problem remains. Maybe you've been carrying something like that for a long time. A relationship that feels broken, a door that refuses to open, a struggle that seems to follow you wherever you go. You have done everything you know how to do, yet the situation still hasn't changed. It can leave you feeling frustrated, exhausted, and even discouraged. But there is something powerful you need to understand. Just because you cannot fix it does not mean it cannot be fixed. There are situations that are simply too complex for human strength, too tangled for human wisdom, and too heavy for human hands. That is where heaven steps in. God specializes in doing what we cannot do. When we reach the end of our ability, we often arrive at the beginning of His power. Sometimes we spend years trying to rearrange things that only God can rearrange. We try to change people's hearts, control circumstances, and force doors to open. But God never intended for us to carry that kind of weight alone. There are battles that belong to heaven, not to us. And when God begins to move, He can shift things in ways that we never imagined possible. Heaven has a way of rearranging circumstances quietly and powerfully. What looked stuck suddenly begins to move. The people who once stood in your way may suddenly step aside. Opportunities that never existed before begin to appear out of nowhere. The very situation that once caused you sleepless nights begins to turn around in ways you never expected. You may not see it yet, but behind the scenes, God is working on details you cannot see. He is aligning the right connections. He is opening the right doors. He is removing obstacles that you didn't even know were there. While you were praying, hoping, and waiting, heaven has been moving pieces into place like a master planner, preparing the perfect moment. Sometimes God allows situations to reach a point where we realize we cannot solve them on our own. Not to frustrate us, but to teach us to trust Him more deeply. When we finally release control and place the situation into His hands, something powerful begins to happen. Peace replaces pressure. Faith replaces fear. And suddenly we realize that God has been working all along. What seemed impossible to you is never impossible to God. He can restore relationships that look completely broken. He can open doors that seem permanently locked. He can bring provision in ways that defy logic and expectation. God is not limited by what we see or understand. His ability goes far beyond the limits of human thinking. Right now, while you are listening to these words, heaven may already be rearranging things for you. The delay you experience may actually be preparation for something greater. The obstacle you face may be turning into the very path that leads to your breakthrough. God knows exactly how to turn confusion into clarity and struggle into victory. Your job is not to figure out every detail. Your job is simply to trust that God is working even when you cannot see it. Trust that He is aligning things in your favor. Trust that the situation that feels impossible today can look completely different tomorrow. There is power in knowing that you are not fighting your battles alone. Heaven is involved in your story. God is actively working on your behalf, even in moments when it feels like nothing is happening. What you could not fix, heaven is already beginning to rearrange. And when God finishes rearranging things, you will look back and realize that what once seemed impossible became the very place where your miracle began. There are seasons in life when it feels like everything is moving forward except you. You watch others step into new opportunities, new blessings, and new breakthroughs while you remain in the same place, waiting and wondering when your moment will come. You have prayed, believed, and hoped for change, yet the answers seem delayed. The doors you knocked on stayed closed. The progress you expected never arrived. It can make you question whether your time will ever come. But what you must understand is that a delay is not a denial. Just because something has taken longer than you expected does not mean God has forgotten about you. In fact, many of God's greatest works happen after long seasons of waiting. Waiting seasons are not empty seasons. They are preparation seasons. When you look at your life from your perspective, it may seem like time has been wasted. You may feel like you have been standing still while the world keeps moving. But heaven sees something very different. God has been working beneath the surface, developing things in you that could not have been developed any other way. Strength is being built. Faith is being deepened. Character is being refined. Sometimes God allows delays because the blessing He is preparing requires a stronger version of you. If the door had opened earlier, you might not have been ready for what was on the other side. But God knows exactly when the timing is right. He knows when you are ready, when the opportunity is ready, and when the circumstances have aligned perfectly. Think about how many times in life something didn't work out the way you wanted, only to realize later that it was actually protecting you or positioning you for something better. What felt like rejection later revealed itself as redirection. What felt like disappointment later became divine alignment. Your delay may actually be God positioning you for something greater than what you originally expected. Right now, you may feel tired from waiting. Waiting can test your patience and challenge your faith. It can make you wonder if your prayers are reaching heaven. But every prayer you have prayed has been heard. Every moment you chose faith instead of giving up has been noticed. God has not overlooked a single moment of your journey. The truth is that when God decides it is time for your breakthrough, things can begin to move very quickly. What felt slow for years can suddenly accelerate. Doors that once seemed permanently closed can open in ways that surprise you. Opportunities can appear that you never even imagined asking for. God has the ability to restore time. He can make up for lost years. He can take a season that felt delayed and turn it into a season of sudden progress. What seemed like a long road can quickly become a path of favor and blessing. You may not see the full picture right now, but God is never late. His timing may not match our expectations, but it is always perfect. When the moment arrives, you will realize that the waiting had a purpose. Every lesson, every challenge, every moment of patience was preparing you for something greater. Instead of looking at the delay as a sign of defeat, begin to see it as a sign that something significant is being prepared. The longer the preparation, the greater the purpose. The deeper the process, the stronger the outcome. Your season of delay will not last forever. Just as seasons in nature change, seasons in life also change. The winter does not stay forever. Spring eventually arrives, bringing new growth, new life, and new opportunities. The same is true for your life. There is a moment coming when the waiting will give way to movement. The quiet season will give way to breakthrough. The frustration will give way to favor. What once felt stuck will begin to shift. You will look back and realize that the delay did not destroy your destiny. It was preparing you for it. So hold on to hope. Keep believing even when the progress is invisible. Continue trusting that God is working behind the scenes, aligning things in ways you cannot yet see. Because the truth is this, the season that felt like delay may actually be the final chapter before your breakthrough begins. And when that moment arrives, everything you waited for will start to make sense. There are moments in life when blessings unfold slowly, step by step, and then there are moments when everything changes suddenly. One moment you are struggling, uncertain, and waiting for something to shift, and the next moment doors begin to open that you never expected. Opportunities appear out of nowhere. The very things you prayed about begin to move in ways that surprise you. This is what happens when God releases favor on your life. Favor is something that cannot be earned by human effort alone. It is not simply about working harder, knowing the right people, or having the perfect qualifications. Favor is a divine advantage that God places on your life. It is when God decides to open doors that no human power could open and to create opportunities that no human planning could produce. There are people who spend years trying to push doors open through their own strength, yet the doors remain closed. Then one moment of God's favor arrives, and suddenly what once seemed impossible becomes effortless. The opportunity appears at the right time. The right connection comes into your life. The situation that once seemed complicated suddenly becomes clear. When God releases favor, things begin to shift in ways that you cannot fully explain. You may find yourself in rooms you never thought you would enter. You may receive help from people you never expected to meet. You may discover opportunities that seem perfectly designed for your life and your purpose. Favor has a way of accelerating what once felt slow. What took years of effort can suddenly begin moving forward with ease. God can open one door that changes everything. One conversation can lead to a breakthrough. One moment of divine alignment can completely redirect the path of your life. But favor does not arrive randomly. Often it comes after seasons of faith, patience, and perseverance. There are times when God allows us to go through difficult seasons because those seasons prepare us for the favor that is coming. The challenges build strength in our character. The waiting builds deeper faith. The struggles teach us to rely on God instead of our own understanding. Then, when the right moment arrives, heaven begins to release what has been prepared. The beautiful thing about God's favor is that it does not depend on human limitations. People may say that something is unlikely or impossible, but God is not limited by human opinions. He can create opportunities where none existed. He can cause the right people to notice you at the right time. He can place your name in conversations where you are not even present. Sudden favor means that things can change faster than you expected. You may have been walking through a long season of discouragement, feeling like nothing was working in your favor. But God has the power to turn that season around in a moment. The same life that felt stuck can suddenly begin to move forward with new momentum. Imagine doors opening that you didn't even know existed. Imagine blessings arriving that exceed your expectations. Imagine finding yourself in situations where everything begins to work together in ways that feel almost miraculous. That is what happens when God releases favor. The key is to remain open, hopeful, and ready. Favor often arrives when we least expect it. It comes in moments that seem ordinary at first, but later reveal themselves as life-changing. What seems like a small opportunity may actually be the doorway to something far greater. You may not know exactly how or when the shift will happen, but you can choose to believe that God is preparing something good for your life. Instead of focusing on the closed doors behind you, begin looking forward with faith. Instead of dwelling on the struggles that once held you back, begin believing that a new season is approaching. God has not forgotten your prayers. He has not overlooked your faith. Every moment of patience and every step of perseverance has been leading toward the right moment. And when that moment arrives, the favor God releases can do more in a short time than years of human effort ever could. Sudden favor has the power to change your direction, restore your hope, and open a future you never imagined possible. The season you are stepping into may be the season where God begins to reveal just how powerful His favor truly is. There are battles in life that leave deep marks on our hearts. Moments when the struggle felt so heavy that you wondered if you would ever make it through. Seasons where the pressure seemed constant and the challenges never seemed to end. You prayed for relief, hoped for a breakthrough, and sometimes questioned why the road had to be so difficult. But what you may not realize is that the very battles you fought were shaping you for the moment you are stepping into now. It is easy to look at past struggles and think they were pointless. When you are in the middle of hardship, it often feels like nothing good can come from it. The pain feels real, the disappointment feels heavy, and the exhaustion can make you want to give up. Yet God has a way of using every battle as preparation for something greater. Every challenge you faced was strengthening something inside of you. The moments when you had to keep going even when you felt weak were building resilience. The times when you had to trust God without seeing immediate results were deepening your faith. The seasons when doors closed in front of you were teaching you patience and wisdom. None of those experiences were wasted. God often prepares people through battles before leading them into blessings. The struggle develops the strength required to carry what is coming next. Without the process, the promise could become overwhelming. Without the preparation, the opportunity might arrive before you are ready to handle it. Think about the growth that happens in difficult seasons. When life is easy, we rarely change. Comfort does not push us to grow, but challenges force us to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient than we were before. They teach us lessons we could not learn any other way. The battles you fought were not random events in your life story. They were shaping your character and building the inner strength needed for the future God has prepared for you. Maybe there were nights when you felt completely alone, carrying burdens that no one else seemed to understand. Maybe there were moments when it seemed like the obstacles in front of you were too big to overcome. Yet somehow you kept moving forward. Even when your strength felt small, you continued to believe that something better was possible. That persistence was not wasted. Every step forward during those difficult times was preparing you for the moment you are now approaching. Sometimes we do not realize how much we have grown until we look back. The person you are today is stronger than the person you were before those battles began. You have gained wisdom that only experience could teach. You have developed courage that only adversity could produce. The same situations that once threatened to break, you have actually built you into someone stronger. God knew what you would need for the next chapter of your life. He knew the level of faith, strength, and perseverance required to step into the opportunities ahead. The battles were not there to destroy your future. They were there to prepare you for it. And now you may be entering the moment where everything begins to make sense. What once felt like unnecessary pain may now reveal itself as essential preparation. The delays you experienced may have been building the patience needed for your next level. The rejection you faced may have been redirecting you towards something far better than what you originally wanted. God can take every difficult chapter in your life and weave it into a story of purpose and victory. The battles that once felt like setbacks can become stepping stones toward the future He has planned for you. Instead of seeing your struggles as failures, begin to see them as training. At every obstacle was strengthening your faith. Every challenge was shaping your character. Every moment of endurance was preparing you to handle the blessings that are now approaching. You may not have chosen those battles, but they helped create the strength you now carry. And now the moment you were being prepared for may finally be arriving. The doors that once seemed distant may soon begin to open. The opportunities you hoped for may begin to appear. The strength you gained through those difficult seasons will now become the very thing that helps you step confidently into the future. The battle you fought was not meaningless. It was preparation. And the strength you discovered in those battles may be the very reason you are ready for the incredible moment that is now unfolding in your life. Life is full of chapters. Some chapters are filled with joy, progress, and excitement, while others feel heavy with challenges, uncertainty, and waiting. But one thing is always true: no chapter lasts forever. When God begins to move in your life, He often brings you to the edge of a new chapter, a fresh season that carries new opportunities, new growth, and new blessings. The difficult part is that stepping into a new chapter often requires leaving behind the old one. Many people pray for change, but when change begins to appear, it can feel unfamiliar and even uncomfortable. We become used to what we know, even if what we know has been difficult. The familiar can feel safe, even when it has been limiting. But God never calls us to remain stuck in places that were only meant to be temporary seasons. Sometimes God closes doors not to disappoint us, but to direct us. What looked like rejection may actually be redirection. What felt like a loss may actually be the beginning of something greater. The challenge is learning to trust that when one chapter ends, another chapter is already waiting to begin. You may have spent a long time in a season that tested your patience and your faith. There may have been moments when you felt unsure about your future, moments when you wondered if things would ever change. But God sees the full picture of your life. He sees where you have been, where you are now, and where He is leading you next. When God begins to open a new chapter, it often starts quietly. A new opportunity appears. A new idea begins to grow in your heart. A door opens that you did not expect. At first it may seem small, but over time you realize that it is leading you towards something much greater. The key is having the courage to step forward. Faith is often about taking a step before you see the entire path. God rarely reveals every detail in advance. Instead, He invites us to trust Him one step at a time. When you take that step of faith, the next step becomes clearer. When you move forward with trust, new possibilities begin to appear. You cannot fully embrace the new chapter if you keep holding on to the past chapter. The past may have been painful, but it also may have been familiar. The struggles you experience may have shaped you, but they do not have to define your future. God is always doing something new, always leading people toward greater purpose and greater fulfillment. Stepping into a new chapter means believing that your story is not over. It means believing that the best parts of your life may still be ahead. It means trusting that the same God who carried you through difficult seasons is now guiding you toward a season of restoration and blessing. Every new chapter carries possibility. It carries growth, discovery, and transformation. The person you are becoming in this new season may be stronger, wiser, and more confident than the person you once were. The experiences you went through in previous chapters have prepared you for what lies ahead. Sometimes the only thing standing between you and the next chapter is fear. Fear can whisper that things might not work out, that the risks are too great, or that the unknown is too uncertain. But faith reminds us that God is already present in the future He is calling us toward. You are not stepping into the unknown alone. God goes before you, preparing the path. He opens doors at the right time and places the right people along the journey. The new chapter He is opening is not random. It is part of a greater plan for your life. So instead of looking back at what has ended, begin to look forward with hope. Instead of focusing on the difficulties of the past, begin to focus on the possibilities of the future. The chapter that lies ahead may hold opportunities you never imagined, blessings you never expected, and growth you never thought possible. This is your moment to move forward with faith.